everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Darian, and today I am going to be doing my August wrap-up. So in August I read 7 books, which honestly really surprised me because I was in a reading slump for a good part of August, and I really thought I read like at most 6 books, but I thought it was even less than that. Honestly, if the 24-hour readathon hadn't happened, I think I would have read a lot less. But anyway, so I did read 7 books in August. It was a very interesting month in terms of the books I read. There were some that I really loved and some that I didn't like as much, which I will go into. But yeah, so let's just get started. So the first book that I read in August was The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed, and I was lucky enough to get an ARC of this book, so thank you to NetGalley and to the publisher for sending me this ARC. So this book takes place in 1992 and it follows the aftermath of the beating of a young black boy named Rodney King, who was a real person. I'm sure you all know that name, but if not, I would suggest looking it up. It takes place during the riots that occurred in LA after his beating by the police, and it doesn't follow like his story, but like the riots that took place after his beating is a significant part of the story. So we follow our main character named Ashley, and she is a young black teenager living in LA during this time. She grew up very privileged compared to a lot of other black kids in LA at that time, because her parents worked really hard to make sure that like her and her sister grew up with like enough money and stuff like that. So they live in a very white neighborhood. They go to a very, well, Ashley goes to a very white school. All of her friends are white, and there are like a group of kids at the school who are black, who are kind of known as like the black kids, especially after the beating of Rodney King, because after that happened, everyone is kind of looking towards, I'm sorry, I just noticed like, maybe I should close this a bit. That's a bit better. I just noticed my face was like completely white. Especially after the beating of Rodney King, like everyone was kind of looking to them and being like, oh my god, like how are they gonna react? We gotta be careful around them and stuff like that. So I thought the story was really interesting and really enlightening, and I thought it was really interesting to see especially Ashley's point of view, because she did grow up a bit more privileged than some of the other black kids at her school. One of my favorite parts of the story was the relationships between Ashley's family members, because her sister Jo, who is a bit older, she's already moved out. She wants to go to the riots. She wants to, you know, fight for justice, and her parents are like very worried for her, and they can't understand why she doesn't want to continue living in this like more white neighborhood, because it would be safer for her in a way. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well. Now, I definitely can't speak on like the relatability of this book for obvious reasons, so I really strongly recommend you guys search out some Own Voices reviews. I know Mayana gave this book 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars, not because I didn't relate to it or anything. I didn't completely gel with the writing style of this book because we're in Ashley's mind, and the narration was very like conversational. Like it was like she was sitting in front of me telling me the story, and so she would get sidetracked and start talking about something that happened like in the past, and I wouldn't realize that we were like talking about the past all of a sudden until like I was halfway through reading it, and I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, where did this character come from? And then I realized, so that could just be me, like, maybe I should have been paying more attention. If you like that type of writing style, then I think you'll really like this book. I also found Ashley a bit annoying, and she kept making really bad decisions, and I was like, oh my god, like, I just wanted to talk to her and be like, no, but at the same time, like, she had a really interesting character arc that I found very satisfying, so that wasn't a huge problem for me in the end. All in all, I thought this book was really interesting. I think this is a really important read that everyone should try to pick up right now for, you know, because it's very topical right now, obviously. But yeah, so I gave this 4 stars, and I believe this was a debut, so I would really like to see what the author's gonna write next. but I did really like this book and I do really recommend it. So the next book I read in August was probably my favorite book of the month, definitely one of my favorite books of the year, and that is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I do have a spoiler review for this book if you guys wanted to check that out, but I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It's like probably, it might be my favorite contemporary of all time. Maybe, I'm not sure. It was just, oh my god. So this was the first novel that I've read by Alice Oseman. I've been reading her Heartstopper graphic novels and I adore those, obviously, but this was my first novel that I've read from her and I just adore her writing style. It's just so I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's so simple, but also like it's just so deep and it really resonated with me so much. So this book is about our main character, Frances, and she is in high school and she, like, her whole life, the most important thing to her was doing well in school, and she really wants to go to Cambridge, and that's been her goal since she was a little girl. So she spends all her time studying and making sure she's getting good grades, and you know, that's like her main focus is school, which like I really related to because when I was in high school, like I always put so much pressure on myself to do well in school. So I really related to her character, and she, one of the things she does do in her spare time besides studying and homework and stuff is that she listens to this podcast called Universe City. Get it? Universe City. And it's run by this person named Radio Silence, and no one knows who they are, and it's like it's very mysterious who the creator of Universe City is, and she's obsessed with this podcast. And then she meets this boy named Aled, and they start to become friends, and this happens at the beginning of the book, but she finds out that he is Radio Silence. He's the one who created her favorite podcast, and so they like bond over that, and then a whole lot of stuff happens in this book, which I don't want to get into because I feel like it's best not to know too much before going into this book. But oh my god, this book was so good. It has such good representation of depression, anxiety, of, you know, just a lot of mental health issues, and oh my god. Like, so one of the characters, they never really say like this character has depression, but like it's very clear that this character has depression, and it just meant a lot to me reading about this character because a lot of what they were feeling is like stuff that I've felt before as someone who struggles with depression. So this book just really meant a lot to me, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you're still in school, because I feel like you will definitely relate to this a lot. But there's just so much to this book. Like, it's not, I feel like I made it sound like it's mainly about school, and like that is a big part of it, but that's really not like all that it's about. There's just so much. There's just so much that happens in this book. Anyways, so I really recommend this book. I absolutely love it, and I'm so excited to read Alice Oseman's other books. I still need to read Loveless, but I'm so scared to read it because what if I don't love it? But I know I will. I just need to read it. So the next book that I read in August was Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig, and this is a non-fiction book, and it's basically about like anxiety in this age of like technology and social media. And I don't know if I would consider it a self-help book. I guess it is. It's a lot of like Matt Haig talking about his own experiences with anxiety and depression and his own struggles with like technology and how that affects his own mental health. But he does give advice, so I guess it is kind of a self-help book. But I thought this was really interesting. I listened to the audiobook and he narrates it, and I thought it was great listening to his voice because he has a great voice. But a lot of it, I found that like a lot of it I could like apply to my own life, but some of it I couldn't. I feel like a lot of it is more geared towards like people who are already working their career job, you know, and I'm not quite there yet. So a lot of it I was like, I don't know, I can't really relate to this yet, but like I could tell that it was good. But then there was a lot of stuff that I did relate to as someone with anxiety and depression, as I mentioned. So I thought this was a really solid read. I would love to get a physical copy of this book so I could read it again and like highlight and tab like the stuff that resonated with me the most and the stuff that I want to remember, because there was a lot of great things in this book. So I gave this book 4 stars, I think. right? Let me check. Yeah, I gave this book 4 stars and I recommend it if you are interested in it. So the next book that I read, I read it for my secret TBR that I am doing, which I thought I could get all of the books done in August, and I only read this one book. And this is the book that put me in a really bad slump this month. I just did not like it. I gave it 2 stars, but I really don't want to reveal the books. I feel like it's just more fun that way if I don't reveal the books until that video is done. But I don't know when that'll be because I still have 2 more books to read for it, and I'm doing the Bookoplathon this month, and I'm vlogging, so it makes it hard. So all I'm gonna say is I read a book, I gave it 2 stars. I didn't like it, and I know some people who really like this book, and I'm a little nervous to see when they find out that I didn't like it, but that's all I'm gonna say for now. So stay tuned for that secret TBR video. I don't know when it'll be done, but it's coming eventually, and I will give my full thoughts on it in that video. I'm sorry for being so, like, what's the word? Sneaky? Not sneaky. Elusive? I don't know. But I promise you will find out eventually what this book is, but yes. Okay, so let's move on to a book that I absolutely loved this book. So the first book that I read for the 24-hour readathon, which is a readathon hosted by Jade from JD Ray Reads. I will link my vlog up there, I think. But the first book that I read for that was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. And this book was so good. Oh my god. Like, this was such an easy 5 stars for me. I adored this book. It is, if you're looking for something that will make your heart full, then I really recommend this book. It is so, it's so wholesome and so cute, and the characters, oh my gosh, I love them all so much. So, okay, pull yourself together. So, this book follows our main character Linus, and Linus, how do I explain this? He is a caseworker, and he basically visits orphanages that the kids at these orphanages, they all have special powers. And so Linus, he goes to these orphanages to see if they are still fit to run, if it's safe for these kids to stay there and stuff like that. And then one day he gets this like assignment to go to this one orphanage that, like, everything about it is confidential. The kids are confidential, their powers are confidential, like, no one talks about this place because of reasons. So Linus is assigned to go there to make sure that the guy who is running this orphanage is fit to run it, and if it's safe for these kids and all that. So he goes there, and of course all these kids have special powers, but their powers are like next level powers that like Linus has never experienced before. And the man who runs it is Arthur, and I love him. And I love all these kids. Now, like, I'm very like iffy about kid characters in books because I get annoyed by them very easily. Like, I find it hard for me to read a kid in a book sometimes because either they sound too adult or they sound too like babyish, and I'm like, just be smarter, like, even though they're kids, but like, I don't know. But I thought these kids were so lovable. I loved them all so much. They're all my babies and I must protect them. And all I'm gonna say is my favorite was Theodore. I'm not gonna say what his power was or what was special about him because I feel like it's best not to know until you read it, but I love Theodore so much. But I loved all these kids, and oh my god, this book, yeah, so that's all I want to say about it because I didn't really know anything about this book before I read it, and I'm so glad I got to like discover everything while I read it. Oh, it was so good. And also, we have a male-male romance in this book, which is just the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so I cannot recommend this book enough. It was so, so good. It's like, I've heard only amazing things about this book from literally everybody, and like all the hype is real. Like, it was so good, so wholesome, amazing. And I read this book, like I read the whole book in under 12 hours, which I was pretty proud of myself. Like, I finished this halfway through the readathon, so I highly recommend this book if you couldn't tell. Please read it. I love it so much. So the next book that I read in August, which I also read during the readathon, was Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman once again. This book, oh god, it's very shiny, sorry about that. This book, you know, we're continuing the story of Nick and Charlie. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the other books, but I don't know, we're continuing their story. So if you don't know what the first Heartstopper is about, it's about these two boys, Nick and Charlie, who go to school together, and Charlie is openly gay and he falls for this boy named Nick, and Nick has always thought he was straight, like he never even questioned it, but he meets Charlie and he now starts to question his sexuality, and then things ensue, and it's just the cutest thing you will ever read, and I was so excited to read the third volume and it did not disappoint. I gave this 5 stars just like I did with the other 2 volumes, and this book I saw a lot of people say like they didn't like this book as much as the other 2 volumes because they didn't like, so trigger warnings in this book for eating disorders and talk of self-harm, and I saw some people say that they didn't like how the topic of eating disorders was handled in this book, and I obviously can't speak on the experiences of others, but for me, I thought it was handled very well. But again, like if you're someone who has struggled or is currently struggling with an eating disorder, I would be careful going into this just in case, because like I found it was handled very well, other people thought it wasn't. It's very unique for every person, so I would be a little careful before going into this, but I absolutely loved this. I mean, I've given everything Alice Oseman that I've read from Alice Oseman 5 stars, so like, she's a queen and we adore her. Okay, I have one more book to talk about, and I'm so... okay, it's fine. The next book I read in August was Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, and I read this for the Winers Book Club. This was our very first book that we read for our book club, which is a book club, how many times am I going to say that I host with some of my friends here on BookTube, and I will link our Twitter down below if you guys want to check us out. But yeah, this was the first book we read, and we had our live show, which I will also link, and everyone in our group loved this book except for me. And I feel so bad still. Like, I really wanted to love this book, and I had heard a lot of mixed things, so I know I'm not the only one who didn't love this, like, out there in the world, but I am the only one in our book club. And I still feel so bad, because, like, I don't know. Okay, that's my own issues. It's fine. It's okay to not like a book. It's okay. So, Wicked Fox. This is about our girl Miyoung, and she is a gumiho, otherwise known as a 9-tailed fox, and basically to survive she eats the souls of men, and so we stan, and she feels very guilty killing people, so she only like eats the souls of like really bad men who have done really bad things. And one night she's in the forest fighting this like goblin thing. I think it's called a dokaibi, but I could be saying that wrong. It's the name of the second book, but it's like they describe it as like a goblin thing. And so she's fighting it, and this boy named Ji-hoon, he like stumbles upon them in the forest and witnesses this, and during the fight, Miyoung loses her bead that like allows her to turn into a fox, and she needs that to survive. So this story follows them like becoming friends, and Ji-hoon is obviously very enamored by Miyoung and he wants to get closer to her, but she doesn't want to get close to anyone because she thinks that like she doesn't deserve to be close to people, stuff like that. So a lot of things happen, like a lot. And this book just wasn't for me. I found it way too dramatic. Like, I mean, I gave all my thoughts in the live show, so I won't go too much into it again, because if you saw that, you're probably tired of me talking badly about this book. I'm so sorry. Like, I definitely don't think this is a bad book. It's just not for me. Once again, I look very bright. Is that better? I don't know. But yeah, this just wasn't for me. I didn't love Miyoung as a character, like, and I mean, Ji-hoon was definitely the best part of this book for me. I loved him. I mean, he made some choices sometimes and I was like, okay, like, I don't know. I watched the live show for my full thoughts. I'm not gonna go into it too much again because we don't need that. But I did give this book 2 stars. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. But the cover is very pretty, so there you go. And I don't know yet if I want to read the sequel. I might wait and see what the like general consensus is on that book, but I would be interested to see maybe if I would like that one more. I'll see. But yeah, I'm sorry. So those are the books I read in August. Let me know if you read any of those books and what you thought of them, if you liked them or didn't like them, or if there's any of those that you do want to read. And I am in the middle of 2 books that I did start in August. I am in the middle of Air of Fire, which I have right here actually. I started this, Air of Fire by Sarah J Maas, the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series. I started this at the end of August and didn't finish it by the time August ended, so I am gonna see if I could fit this into the Bookoplathon somehow. We'll see, because I'm like halfway done now. So yeah, I did start this. I also started listening to the audiobook for, I almost said A Song of Wraiths and Ruin, but that is a completely different book. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, the Hunger Games prequel. So I am slowly listening to that book. I listen to it on my walks, so it's taking me a while because I don't go for like super long walks or anything, and it is a pretty long audiobook. So I'm slowly making my way through that. But yeah, so that's what I read in August. Thank you guys so much for watching, and also, I almost forgot again. So, as I've mentioned in videos before, every time I gain another 100 subscribers, I like to do like small booktuber shoutouts, and I kept forgetting. I reached 300 like a few weeks ago, which, thank you guys so much. Like, I can't believe there's 300 people here, like, that's crazy. But I kept forgetting to do my shoutouts, so I'm finally going to do them now. So, the 3 booktubers I want to shout out. First, we have Lisa from Lisa Marie Reads. I love Lisa so much. She is my Swiftie buddy. She loves Taylor Swift as much as I do, which is a lot, and I just love her videos so much. Her vlogs are so like aesthetic and calming, and I just love them so much. So if you aren't subscribed to Lisa yet, please go do so, because she is just an angel. We love her. We stan. So yeah, so there's Lisa. The next one I want to mention is Elise from The Petite Punk. Elise is just so hilarious and so sweet. I love her so much, and her videos are just amazing. So definitely go check her out, because she will brighten your day, no questions asked. And finally, I wanted to mention Caroline from Read with Caroline. She just always puts a smile on my face when I watch her videos. Like, she has such a lovely personality, and I love watching her so much. So I will link all 3 of them down below. Please go check them out and support them, because I love them a lot. But yeah, so thank you guys for 300 again, even though I'm very late to this. I'm sorry. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Bye!